Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Lutz, thank you for being here. Last week, there was an agreement by the National Association of Realtors to settle home seller claims regarding commissions. You mentioned in your testimony the term legal developments, and you note that NAR is seeking to clarify the existing mortgage finance rules, which assumes that sellers would pay commissions, will continue. If not, limits on sellers' contributions may need to be adjusted. Now, the American Banker, from my perspective, predictably, had an article today entitled, "NAR changes could hurt home buyers." So the sky is falling, Chicken Little comes out to talk. Could you clarify the remarks you included in your witness testimony and how any changes may impact the home buying market?
Absolutely. So the first thing I will say is this is obviously currently in action right now in settlement, and so there will be progress on this. And I'm not the general counsel. But what I will also say is that when we think about first-time home buyers, they need the ability to have representation and to move forward with that transaction. And they need the ability to have this representation in a very competitive housing market. And so as they think about the person who's going to represent them, their commission is always negotiable in that transaction, but they need the ability to move forward so that they can even have their offer seen when there continues to be multiple offer situations and get them to that closing table. But we are concerned about first-time home buyers, low-income buyers, moderate income buyers, and VA buyers especially.
Yeah, I'm just always concerned about the fuzziness when these kinds of decisions are made. Because after you read it 3 times, maybe the decision wasn't made. Anyway, it's giving me a headache. But Ms. Bailey, your testimony notes that appraisal bias continues to undercut wealth building opportunities for families of color. And as you note, white communities have access to over 15 trillion with a T, more in capital because of racialized appraisal practices. How are the regulators doing in terms of meeting the goals of PAVE action plan?
We are encouraging them, and thank you so much for the question. We are encouraging them to finish the race. PAVE is a very important initiative that was designed to help us address and end appraisal bias. And we absolutely need to make sure that the regulators follow through with the work that they started. And some of the things that we want to make sure is that we get HUD to resolve the backlog of appraisal discrimination complaints and the feasibility of releasing to the public the property level uniform appraisal data set from the Federal Housing Finance Agency and the Federal Housing Administration and the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs and U.S. Department of Ag. This data really lets us know what's going on. We're in a situation where appraisals are not fair and they're not accurate. And because families have to whitewash and remove themselves, that's the only way they believe they can actually get a fair and accurate appraisal. So we need these important actions to take place so we can finish the process and make sure we're actually doing the things that PAVE was designed to do, which is really end appraisal bias. And we want to commend the administration for being very bold. This wasn't an easy thing to arrive at. It took a lot of courage. So we are really hopeful that they will continue to run this race and complete the task.
Yeah, I share that same optimism. Now, let me just stay with you for a minute, and I hate my time is running down low, but because this is so important, there's $82 trillion currently invested in private equity and venture capital, and of that $82 trillion, less than 1% of that money invested in firms are owned by minorities. That means 99% of all private equity and venture capital goes to firms that are owned by people, or not owned by people of color. Given that disturbing reality, what more can we do? I mean, we pass laws that the problems just seems to hang on and hang on and hang on.
It's misguided to not understand that diversity actually benefits all of us. Diverse companies that have psychological safety outperform non-diverse entities. We want to make sure America remains on the leading edge. Diversity and inclusion is our way forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank the ranking member. The gentleman from Florida, Mr. Posey, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank you and staff for doing the research necessary to bring some expert witnesses in here that believe there are ways